Assalamu alaikum. Yesterday, I snapped a photo of a rainbow over our two-story high cactus and sent it to one of the many student group text threads that I keep active. This particular thread has hundreds of texts and includes, among its members, a Palestinian-American student, a Pakistani Muslim, and a student from India from what he describes as a Hindu nationalist family. This group embodies the power of classrooms to forge connections across differences and to instill faith in humanity and faith in the power of education to bring us closer to a just world. So I want to thank you because I am humbled and honored to be here today, and especially given the fact that I have friends who participated in that initial gathering in Haifa and was just there in May. My text to these students, by the way, read, with the rainbow and the cactus, hope, courage, and sumud. Let me pause for a moment to speak of sumud. It is the Arabic word for endurance or perseverance, has also been transposed by Palestinians into the phrase, endurance is resistance. And their symbol for this active stance that embraces hope, persistence, and perseverance is, of course, the cactus. I am here today as a professor of Ottoman and Middle East history at Claremont McKenna College, an educational community, as you just learned, I shared with Amjad Khan and I think other people in this room. And of course, I am here as a professor dedicated to navigating often challenging classroom dynamics, classrooms shaped by post-9/11 worlds, by students from a range of Jewish, Muslim, and Christian backgrounds, by backgrounds that also shape assumptions and stereotypes that can all too easily intervene in our collaborative effort to create a shared knowledge about the past and thus of our place in the present. But this semester, I was also a professor in the classroom post-October 7, and it is this moment of sheer tragedy, of epistemic rupture, that I want to pause on today. For it is in this moment that it has become all the more important to embrace compassion and a vision of our shared humanity as the starting point of all our conversations, our professional commitments, and our actions in the world. Compassion is, of course, built on faith, my faith in my students, and theirs in each other, and that we can join together in building new worlds of knowledge together. Last year, I gave the convocation speech at CMC, and my topic was sci-fi and world building. Science fiction is actually a focus that is important now as well, because the genre often serves as a critique of our present so as to imagine new future just worlds. And even now, as we critique a world that has failed many in Israel and Palestine and in other parts of the globe, we need to have faith in each other and to recognize this importance of compassion as the ground for our ability to learn together. So today I want to explain just for a second how I do this in a classroom and how these classroom dynamics might also serve as a model for compassionate world building in the present. Remember, I did say I was a professor of history, so of course I think history is redemptive and the best of all disciplines. Let me try to explain why. We need to know our history because within history we discover the power of words, the power of narratives to shape the world we live in, and thus how we live in the world. Words and narratives can estrange, they can damage, they can wound, they can shape problematic policies, but they can also free and empower and amplify marginalized and precarious voices. This is, in a sense, the core of my pedagogical practice at Claremont McKenna, to amplify the words of those all too often erased. This is an ethical approach to teaching that requires constant adaptation, flexibility, and a willingness to learn with and from students and to embrace change. How could it be otherwise when every first day of class requires a giant leap of faith? Faith and trust in each other to be vulnerable as we admit to our own ignorance and to the power that is often contained in our own assumptions that shape how we understand others. I assign readings on the first day. I know that's probably not good for a professor, but it's just a short selection from a graphic novel by Nick Sousanis called Unflattening. It has two goals: to shake us out of the credentialing approach to learning and to embrace a multi-perspective approach to education and to knowledge. Flattening approaches rely on generalizations based on stereotypes, on monolithic characterizations of a group, and on dogmatic assertions of truth. An unflattened world is a goal to reach for, a method for reading texts in class from different voices and for walking through our daily lives attentive to the worlds of others. It is a vocabulary for life, in fact, that my students have embraced as their own. I constantly hear them say with disdain, "That is such a flattened view of the world." To switch gears, I've been reading recently James Baldwin's The Fire Next Time, because he speaks of transforming an immoral universe into a just universe through love and faith. For me, this means faith in the ability for us to face reality. And to face reality, we need to know our history so as to embrace the possibility of other future histories and to believe in the possibility of building new worlds together that intervene rather than stand by when we see injustice. Because compassion and faith are active stances, not passive principles. I want to conclude with that in mind, with the now famous words of the Gazan poet and professor of English literature, Rafat El-Arir. His last poem, published November 1, 2023, included the lines, "Let my life be a tale." Our lives are stories, the stories we tell ourselves, and the stories that are possible to inhabit. Faith in our collective and collaborative embrace of learning about other lives, lives in the past and in the present, and thus about our own lives, is a redemptive faith in the power of knowledge to change the structures we inhabit and to work for a just future together.